Hi folks, here we are again recapping our latest council meeting. A long meeting and another one coming up next week. There has been so much business for the council to address. One of the reasons this week's meeting was rather lengthy was because it was an opportunity for the residents, the last opportunity to have a comment about the change from residential site value to capital value, which will be coming in this financial year. Anybody would probably know by now, this is not a council decision, it is something we have to do. It's legislation, it's been legislated by previous governments, so in fairness to our current government, they haven't just introduced it, but it is there and we have to comply with it. The idea of getting the community and residents to express their views is to give council a better understanding of if there is any way we can make it fairer in introducing it when the budget comes out this year. We do thank the residents who have emailed, have written in letters and who presented at this week's council meeting for their efforts. It's certainly a difficult one to address because I guess most of the comments that have been coming in, as you would expect, is that our residents see it as an unfair situation. They put effort into their homes and their rates are now going to be readjusted. As I said, this is a state issue and council is trying to address it the best way possible for your future. Two other important items that were on the agenda. One involves our cuttlefish coast, the diving site. Now this had a lot of discussion, different views of the members, but basically what was put to council was the imperative need for some work to be undertaken to ensure that the community are safe at that site, as well as the magnificent cuttlefish are well protected. After the last season, it was quite obvious council needed to take a lead role with a whole range of different government departments to get something happening to ensure that that phenomenon out there wasn't lost, and we needed to ensure the safety of, as I said, the cuttlefish, plus our human species that go out to visit them. It is essential, and I thank the council members, a lot of discussion and a lot of different motions to come up with a final answer, that there is a short-term plan in place now to do some upgrading, particularly on the land, to improve pedestrian access, driving, parking. Anybody that was out there last year knows it has become so popular that it was basically at times very chaotic and unsafe for people carting, parking, caravans, walking, you name it. We need to mitigate that risk. So there is a short-term plan to do a lot of work between now and May, and there will be a long-term plan. We have consultants that have been recommended by the government, and they certainly have come up with some great ideas and answers, and certainly everything that is being done takes into account the cuttlefish. So we have that work that will be undertaken, and then you will see more on council's Facebook and through the media as we look further ahead for a long-term plan to ensure that the whole area is protected and everybody that goes out there can see everything in a very safe manner. The other item didn't have much discussion, very much supported by the elected members, but it will have a great bearing on the future of our Christmas pageant and our carols. Now there is a report in council, I think it's by about 46 pages, and I really do commend it to you. You've got an interest in the pageant and the carols, but particularly the pageant, as to whether it should stay where it is. I'm sure by now everybody knows it was a makeshift combination of carols and the pageant to ensure we did have a pageant this year, or last year. We want to ensure that it continues. So please read that report. I commend our events team who prepared the report. It's got a complete outline of their debrief, everything that worked, things that didn't, and we've got every single comment that came in there from people. Almost 500 residents replied to the survey to offer their comments about, did they like the combined idea, do they want them separate, whatever. The decision council did make, as we have alluded to all along, council took on the pageant this year, combined it last year, combined it with the carols to ensure it happened. It needs to be a community event. So council have agreed they want to form, or the community to take over. Council has been a stakeholder for many years and it will continue to help out, but it needs to be taken over by the community. Council can't build all the floats. Council can't provide all the music. It has to be the community. And I would say to some of those people that replied in a very critical way of our community pageant, when the opportunity comes for you to volunteer, we would love to see everybody putting their hands up to make sure our pageant rebounds whatever format. Now, the new group will decide, based on the survey and everything else, whether it stays as it was last year or goes back to normal. So a lot of work ahead, and it's going to be exciting to see a community group formed to take over that pageant and grow it for our family, for our kids, for everyone. A lot of other things on the agenda, but I'm sure I've gone over time. I would just remind everybody, this Sunday we have the Premier and various ministers in Whyalla on an economic summit. They're inviting you to the Westland Hotel at 4:45 to have a free, I guess, a sausage sizzle, free barbie, and then the summit. Look, if you've got questions, if you're a resident who seems to think that council's not answering certain questions of yours, we can't. We know there are a lot of questions around the community at the moment about what's happening with some of our land parcels, the Pony Club, Cloden Street, the Whyalla High School, the old Whyalla High School. What's council doing about it? Well, we've certainly been encouraging the government. It has to be preserved and it has to be maintained. There are lots of questions we can't answer because they're not our projects and it's not our land. Attend this economic summit, ask the Premier, ask the Minister, all the questions we can't answer until we see a development application. And that's just for starters. Another council meeting next week. So I guess you'll have to put up with me one more time about what happens at our next council meeting. Until then, enjoy your life here in Whyalla. Great place to live and be.